Alrighty, welcome back. So I decided the first thing I'm going to start on is tearing this guy down. The fuel tank, I've kind of had to adapt onto it. If you watched the first video, I kind of explained a little bit about what this came off of a Planet Junior BP1 garden tractor, and has a smoking issue and leaks oil pretty bad. Kind of went over it a little bit in my first video, but I'm going to start the teardown on this. So bear with me. I'm not very good at filming, obviously. But anyways, we're gonna tear into this bad boy and see what we can do. I do have a set of new old stock rings for it. Gaskets I'll probably just make on my own. I do have seals. Basically I've got most everything I should need, unless there's something that's really worn out in there that I don't know about. I did have to do a tune-up on it this spring, this middle of this summer when I got it, to get it to run. So we'll tear into this guy and keep on trucking. Alrighty, so first thing I did is I removed the rubber hose that I was using to for a fuel line, kind of a temporary solution. I believe, honestly, Briggs mechanic can really get by with about 5 or 6 tools, really. A pair of needle nose pliers, flathead screwdriver, 7/16 end wrench, 1/2 inch end wrench, and a 1/4 inch drive socket set. You could pretty much rebuild a Briggs engine with just those tools. Might be a few things, that you might want or need, but you can pretty well overhaul anything Briggs wise with this, other than maybe the flywheel nut, which is, I think, a 3/4. But other than that, I mean, really basic tools, something you could pick up at Harbor Freight. You could become a Briggs mechanic pretty easily, and a manual. That always helps. So for starters, I'm going to take off loosen these fuel tank brackets here. There just should be 4 flathead screws, 2 on the back here. Then there's one up here, it's a piece of wire in this case, and another one here. Normally these brackets here are actually riveted to the blower housing, but because of kind of hurry up issues this summer when I was actually farming with this tractor, I didn't really have much of a chance to actually attach this in a more permanent fashion. So anyways, in order to remove that, take off my wires here. I'm trying to do this one-handed and film. It's kind of fun. I'll come back. Okay, got the wire out. On this side, I believe, I had a 1/2 inch bolt. The holes in the top of this head are tapped, actually, surprisingly enough. On my Chore Master, I actually put a handle on top of this, where these 2 holes mount. Okay, so that's off. Next thing that holds the blower housing on, there's usually a flathead machine screw here, or a 1/4 inch bolt. On the other side of this guy, tucked back down right in there, is another 1/4 inch bolt. And that hole is slotted, so all you have to do is loosen it up. And you should just be able to give this a tug, and then that comes off just like that. So there's the blower housing in the tank. I thought about unsoldering the tank in half, so it's just soldered together and straightening it out. We'll see. It's got some dents in it. I don't know. It took 80 years to get that way. I don't know if I want to mess with it. Looks like some leaves and some corn stalk chunks and stuff that got blown in here over the past spring. Next thing to come off is going to be the flywheel here, or the pulley, excuse me. In this case, S.L. Allen, who built the Planet Junior tractors, just wanted a single bolt. There's a single little nut holding that on. And then I've had this guy off before, so he just comes off just like that. And then this piece of key stock, it'll get a new one put in there. It's a nice thing about being a machinist. Make a new one. Okay. Next thing to come off, I'm gonna take this mess off here. Well, maybe. Take the air cleaner off. To do that, this one just has, well, maybe. It should just have a wing nut up here that loosens up. Hang on. Okay, so I kind of cheated and did this off camera. But anyways, threaded rod hangs out in here. It's just a through hole in the bottom down here that it goes through. Your air cleaner, oil filled, sits right there on top of that guy. So set those aside, keep track of your nuts and bolts. Okay, now this little air cleaner elbow here has a bolt down through the bottom right there. It bolts into the bottom of the air cleaner in that little casting right there. Just another 1/4 inch bolt, pretty simple. And there is another bolt on the bottom of this that holds this little tab on. Okay, carburetor is next. So back in here, you can't, I don't know if you can really see this. So there's actually a linkage. The governor here controls, as it moves, the air pressure, the air flowing by it pushes it, which controls, there's a little lever down there, and the spring is kind of not, it's not really hooked up. I had to mess with it to get it off the tractor, but it pushes this little link, which pushes the throttle either open or closed depending on the amount of air going by, which governs the engine speed. Now our governor spring here, that's not being very cooperative, there's a slide back here, and we'll see it a little bit more here as we get once we get the carburetor off, and it is where the throttle cable attaches. So anyways, so to take your carburetor off, you can just take it off up here as one piece for the moment, and we'll disassemble it and go through it. There's plenty of videos on YouTube about that. I'll try to make one that's kind of clear, but we'll see. So anyways, 2 1/4 inch bolts with flathead screws in them. Pretty straightforward if I can do it one-handed. Sorry if the video's shaky. Oh, there it went. Okay, don't do that. Anyways, okay. So we got our 2 little bolts here that hold this guy on. And then, yeah, so you get the gist. Gasket, we'll make a new one of those. And then carburetor, and in this case fuel bowl. Usually the fuel bowl's on the fuel tank. We'll probably move it up there instead of right there. Okay, so that guy's out of the way. Okay, so you can see here now, there's this little linkage right here that connects to the end of that, connects into the throttle shaft on the carburetor, and that's the governor arm right there. Then right here is this little bracket that slides up and down, and your throttle cable comes up through here and wraps around this little boss here, and that's what controls your engine speed. And then your governor spring, which is this mangled up piece of junk, well, excuse me, it hooks right there. Excuse me, your throttle cable goes up here. There's a little hole in there. Anyways, governor spring hooks on right here, goes up and hooks into the backside of this guy in any one of these holes over here. And those are there to vary the governor response. You can make it respond quicker or slower, depending on what you're doing. Sometimes you want it to respond real quick in certain applications. Others, you want it to be very slow. Excuse me. So anyways, then save that guy. That's important. Don't lose that. Otherwise, you'll have a headache. Okay. Next thing to come off this guy is going to be the exhaust pipe. I put this elbow on. It used to come straight back. I didn't like it because this faces you when you're running the tractor, and it made a lot of noise and choked me out, honestly, with all the burnt oil I was getting. So this guy is pretty well stuck in the block. I'll probably have to heat it up to get it out. So in this case, it's pretty straightforward. It just unscrews off the back of here. Kind of boring, but yeah, the muffler's in okay shape, but it's still kind of a hunk of junk. I'll probably keep the muffler, but this whole exhaust pipe modification thing's gonna go bye-bye. Okay, let's see. Next thing to come off is gonna be the fly wheel. So let me go grab some tools and I'll be right back.